Very cool. Thank you all for joining us today on this AMA special on the Accelerator Program. The topic of conversation for this AMA is your trading pathway. I want to remind you all that derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Let's just hop right into what we're going to cover today. So our goals for today, the main topics of discussion, and I welcome your questions. If you do have questions, I would appreciate it if you put it in the Q&A panel so that we can, so James can get to them and I can see them and they can be just crossed out to make sure that everybody's questions have been dealt with. Those of you who pre-submitted your questions are there. We've made slides out of that. We'll cover those at the end of this quick intro. I'm going to cover an intro for about 10 minutes and spend the rest of the time on the AMA. But what we're covering today, and yes, this is recorded. What we're covering today is to talk about the problem of figuring out your trading pathway, right? So most of you in here have been introduced to trading one way or another, and it's a very individualistic and easy to get lost in path. And what we're hoping to achieve today is to talk about the process that people go to and what we would like to see and what we're offering. This is something that I've been working on with James and others for a long time to put together a professional prop level trading program that helps people kind of move into a more productive path to learn to trade. So we'll talk about the problem with how most people go about their development. We'll talk about the choices that you have out there currently as of today. We'll talk about the pathway for a better approach according to our experience and our perspective. If you're wondering why my hand is up here, is because I am traveling and I'm on this wired headset. Didn't want to cart my Bose headset along, so I just want to make sure the sound is clear and comes through. So I'm holding the mic closer to my mouth. And then we'll cover the questions that were submitted. Okay, so let's discuss the problem for a second. What you'll get when you look around and ask about how you should learn how to trade, whether you're looking at, on Reddit or on whatever, the internet wisdom in general is don't pay anyone to learn to trade. The information is free on YouTube and various chats. You can join these free Discords of many different people and you can just learn it that way. Kind of pull out your machete and blaze your own trail approach to learning. That's a very, very common thing that is shared over the internet. Don't pay anyone to learn to trade. If someone is selling a course, they probably can't trade. Selling courses is how they make money, not trading. How many of you have heard this wisdom from others that you should, if somebody's selling a course or has a chat room or whatever, they must not be a trader, and this is how they make money, is by selling a course. The wisdom is also invest your time and money on the screen. You just got to put in asses in the seat kind of time. Just watch the markets every minute of every day. This will teach you all you need to know, more so than anything you can buy. That's another common wisdom that is shared about learning to trade. The questions you should be asking is, if there is a course or a program or someone is talking on YouTube or whatever, you should always be asking several questions. One of which is, who is the trainer? What is their background? Are they someone who's self-taught? Have they traded professionally? Have they ever trained anyone? Have they ever backed anyone? Have they run a trade desk? Do they come from an institution? These are all important questions. Also, additional questions you might want to ask is, what kind of time frame is this person trading in? What is their risk tolerance? Do they follow a consistent process, or is it more sitting and talking, and it's mostly entertainment, and then they trade from the gut. They execute from the gut, which is mostly what I see online when I look at those who are running a service or whatever. They may have an opening range breakout system, but sometimes they follow it, sometimes they don't. Is the emphasis on what really matters? Are they emphasizing the things that will help you address your issues today and in the future, or is it just taking care of this need to have setups and to watch someone trade or watch someone tell you how they traded in the past, what they did that day, or how their levels got hit and how they talked about that level earlier and so on? What is the emphasis on? The emphasis should be on process. Process is king. Is there a process that they're sharing with you? Can you follow the learned process independently? If you went off on your own, have they imparted enough information to you that you can walk away and have a base from which you can create, develop, and independently execute on your own process? Because that should be the goal. Remember, in prop, even when I had my prop group and ran a prop group, I never told anyone how to trade. We taught them about the process, the market, and they had to independently follow their own process. They had to independently write, propose, get approved by the head of trade desk, by management, and by the risk manager, their process. That's what they had to do. And then they had to follow that process or suffer the consequences. Is the emphasis on a specific tool or indicator? What happens if you don't have access to this tool? Maybe it's some sort of a Gex bot thing in Majig that you can't recreate, or maybe it's an indicator that's adjusted by this person, but the adjustment's not disclosed yet. You're relying on this indicator for your own trading. These kinds of things you have to be critical about, but whether or not you should be paying for a course is not really the question. Is the information being conveyed in a way that emphasizes actionable setups and trades that you can replicate? What's the point of attending a program or a boot camp or using a piece of software if you have not gained a full understanding of how this works, how the market works, how this approach works, so you can replicate it for yourself? The emphasis is on independence and being able to do it on your own. Teach a person to fish. Are you getting just what you need, or is there a whole lot that may be interesting but isn't actionable? The other piece is you join a group. There are a couple of famous futures shops where you go in and you pay for this program or course, and you just get loaded with so much information, which seems important and interesting, but ultimately isn't actionable. Right? If I'm throwing in so much information, it's going to be very, very difficult to sift through what you should be focused on in the heat of battle while you're trading. And finally, of course, what is your time worth to you? Can you afford to go through 100,000 videos and 500 different chat rooms to figure out what works for you? I can tell you that task is almost impossible. You lose a lot of time, and the question is, what is your time worth to you? Can you distill all the information you've gathered into non-conflicting, action-oriented steps and process without confusion? I found this to be hard. A little bit of history. Even though I was running a prop shop and we were basically making markets and trading very, very high volumes to the tune of 6,000 sides a day, 3,000 round trips a day, a few hundred trades in those 3,000 round trips a day, trading a pretty good chunk of the average daily volume on major products as a prop shop. And I came to realize that it's very hard to make money as a market maker at the level that we were trading at. And so I decided to start my transition out of market making, which was high volume scalping, to a more structured approach, and I had to walk through this thing. It was a lot less noisy when I did it because I did it in 2005 or so. And at that point, I'd been trading for 5 years. Um, there was a lot less, but still, I would look to see what others are doing, and I found a lot of misinformation, and that's what brought me online as FuturesTrader71. And I started this process of just working to distill and clarify and simplify trading for anybody that was willing to listen. And what I found is that there's a lot of conflicting information. Like one, an approach looks like it works if you test it, but then you go live and it just doesn't look the same anymore. It's very hard to execute and so on. And I found a lot of conflicting information out there. Who are you accountable to in your learning? So there are people who are learning for the last 20 years, 12 years. They're on sim. It's very difficult for them to go live because they don't feel like they figured it out yet. And it's just you can buy a program or a course and just not do it. Maybe do the first lesson and just not touch it again for years and years and years, or buy a trading book where you went through the intro and never picked it up again. There has to be some accountability to your learning, some sort of a timeline, right? And the timeline connected with a clear path to follow allows you to successfully complete the program and gain the knowledge that you need and the skills that you need to be able to trade. Is there someone you can ask for clarification or further examples? These are all questions that are not addressed by that internet wisdom and are all part of the package. What choices do you have to blaze a path for yourself and learn to trade? The ideal situation is that you would have an experienced mentor, somebody who has pedigree, somebody who's coming from prop, institution, a trade desk, an execution desk, a floor trader who has actually taught people how to trade. Not everybody's a good teacher, right? You have an experienced mentor who walks you through the foundation of every step along the way. That's the ideal situation. The problem is training and mentoring are very time intensive. I mean, I did it. I had 29 traders that I was backing under my company, under my prop trading firm. And this is not funding evaluation. This is true prop. There were employees of mine. They got a salary. They didn't pay to be there. I paid the bills. And there was a share of their performance, right? I did this. The first few traders I backed were experienced traders. I lifted them off of the last prop shop where I worked. And they came in as experienced traders, but then I stopped backing experienced traders because it was very, very difficult to get them to get rid of their habits from before and to follow what I wanted them to do. So I started to back new, green, fresh, never traded before traders who met certain screening criteria. And I'm going to tell you that for the first 2.5 months, it was intense mentoring to get them to the point where they can make the turn and be profitable within, on average, about 6 to 9 months, right? And then completely paid off at the end of 9 months or so is what the expectation is. And so in order for that to happen, there has to be a stake in the outcome, right? Or you have to pay someone a lot of money to give you that time. That's not a very easily available option. Be very, very critical of the person who's offering mentoring. They have to come from a professional background. They cannot be, in my opinion, a self-taught person is not someone I would trust to mentor me. What is available independently, given that training and mentoring, individual mentoring is a tough thing to come by? You have trading courses, you have boot camps, you have paid chat rooms, you have books you can buy, you have vendors that would sell you a system and associated chat rooms so you can ask questions, whatever. You have YouTube, which you can study independently, as we talked about. And you have funding evaluations that promise a community, that can promise a chat room, a leaderboard, some training, not seeing any consistency there. And then you have social media where you can follow people on FinTwit or other social media platforms and like Telegram or whatever. And hopefully you can pick up the pieces and the crumbs that they drop on a daily basis. None of these address the fundamental requirement to bring the foundation together with a clear process. That's the key. Give me a foundation. Give me the basis from which you are trading. Give me a foundation that is robust. And then let's talk about a process that implements that foundation in a way that is market agnostic, meaning whether the market's rallying or dropping or sideways, whether it's the S&P, the NASDAQ, crude, gold, DAX, doesn't matter. I'm still able to apply this process as long as the product meets certain criteria. That's what we're after. The pathway. So what have we been working on? We've put together this accelerator course. The accelerator course is a self-study, do it at your own pace course that distills all of the necessary fundamentals and brings you through a process to approach the markets independently. This is a self-study course. This is for someone who doesn't want to block off the time required by the accelerator program and do this with a group and do it with live coaching and everything else. The accelerator program is the other thing I've been working on, and that has come to fruition, I think, almost 2 years ago. October of 2023, I think, was the first one. I don't recall. We're on Cohort 6. This is a program that was designed for someone that I would put someone through that I'm backing. It's the minimum required for someone who is going to be backed. So what we created is a structured, high engagement coaching approach for a defined set of weeks with an extended period of support, right? Lots of words there, but it's a program that takes you from wherever you are, and it's not relevant what you know, because it starts from the very beginning and it walks you through what you need to know to organize the market, to address all the pieces that are needed to perform regardless of what the market conditions are. The goals are to bring you to stage 3 of competence. Stage 3 of competence, if you don't know what the levels of competence are, stages of competence are, stage 3 of competence is conscious competence. That means you're at a point where you are aware of what you need to do, you're aware of the steps that you need to take, but you're still doing them very deliberately, and it's not something that is unconscious competence, which means that you just do them without even thinking. It's the difference between someone learning to walk again and a normal human being who's been walking since they were 1.5 years old. They don't think, you don't think about walking. That's stage 4. But someone who's maybe had an accident, who's going through some therapy and has to learn to take every step, that's stage 3 of competence, okay? And the program's designed to bring you to that level from wherever you are. It's not meant to, it's not alleging that it's going to make you profitable. What it's going to do is give you what you need to do to iterate, focus on error prevention, and to follow a process that we hope will show you positive results. The goal also is to enforce your pace through testing and repeated emphasis on key elements. So we drop modules every week, they're paced, and then at the end of the week, there's a coaching session that tests, that quizzes you, and then goes through those modules so that we can make sure that the entire group is following along and is not missing the key points. The other goal is to impart a repeatable process for engaging with the markets properly. How do I prep? How do I read what's happened in the current session? How do I create my price map for the session? How do I engage when my scenarios and price map are met? How do I manage a trade? How do I manage my psychology? How do I manage my errors? And so on and so on and so forth to support you well after the program's completed. So even though the program comes to an end after 5 weeks, we don't want folks to just drop off and do their own thing. We keep checking in. We provide access to the chat room, to the Accelerator Program group, where traders can support each other. You can ask questions, and then we do monthly tune-ups so that we can address whatever has come up since the program has ended, to bring you to a level that would make you much more prepared to be backed. So if our objective is to have you ready to be backed, financially backed, if we can meet that objective, then it's your choice whether you want to be financially backed or if you want to trade your own account. But our objective is one that is a high mark for where we would like you to end up. If you're good enough to back, then this is what we want, okay? So what is the Accelerator Program? We're going to wrap this up here. 4 weeks self-study course. The modules get dropped every week. They cover the essential theory, tools, practice for trading success. We walk you through the process. Live weekly coaching sessions to cover and support the prior week's modules. The topics include the auction overview, auction mechanics, auction elements and structure, context indications, reading the narrative and developing a story, pre-opening planning, what happens when the market is open and what you need to look for, thinking in probabilities, using probabilities to your advantage, like a professional trader does, executing and trading, managing your trades, and so on and so forth. That's what the topics that are covered are. And again, every week there's a coaching session for those 4 weeks. And then there's the live intensive week, which is the last week. We recommend you take the time off to participate in this week so you can be live from the time we start, which is just before the open. And then we trade for the first couple of hours of the market. And then, so we trade live, screen share, go through, basically just go through the stream of consciousness, what's going on, what are we doing, how are we taking the trade, and then we go over, we basically play out what we expect versus what's happening and how we're responding to that, take questions live in the session, and then we do the workshops in the afternoon. We come back in the afternoon during that week to do the workshops for setups, vetting your own setups, risk management, market alignment, trader's mindset, and trade execution. And that's what we have together. The link for more information on this is go to ct.pro/accelerator program, accelerator-program, all lowercase. Again, go to ct.pro/accelerator-program. What are the dates for this? The self-study starts September 16th and goes through February 10th. The live intensive week phase runs from Tuesday, the 14th of October till Monday, the 20th. Okay. This is the week that we would like you to be off if possible. It's not necessary, but we want you to be live. All of it is recorded, of course, but we want you to be there to kind of watch, track it, and ask questions. Then there's a 6-month package that follows, that's included in the program. So you get the Accelerator Program plus the 6 months of the Pro Tools tier of Convergent Trading, access to the original Trade Right program, and access to the Convergent Trading Study Hall archive, which has 40+ skills related webinars and study halls, and a lifetime discount for the services at 30%, because we want you to continue to develop with us. And then there's a bonus session, which is the news planning session. That's what we have. The final cohort is this cohort. The reason I'm talking about this is because we don't want to do this again. We're not going to do the accelerator program in this form again. This will be cohort 6, and it's the last one of the bunch. We'd like to offer you an extra bonus for attending this webinar for new signups. First 10 signups get an additional $250 discount with code AP6-250. Everyone past the 10th sign up, so the 11th sign up going forward is $100 off with code AP6-100. And then this is valid through Labor Day, which is next Monday. Okay. Price increasing from $2,500 minus the discount above to $3,000 from September 2nd. Remember, there's a lot of value in this program already built in. You have the link in the chat if you're looking for more information. Okay. Let's jump into the questions now that have been submitted. I'll answer the questions that you've asked here as well. Would it be better to join a prop after the accelerator program, or is it better to trade and grow your own account once you start to make the turn? This is a tough question to answer because it depends on the individual circumstances. Things like, you know, as Julian's question here is very relevant. But the thing is, like, trading your own account, okay, what's your risk capital? How much money do you have at risk when you're trading? Is it a big account? If it's a big account, you might want to trade it yourself. But if you would rather pay for a funding, and you call it prop here, and it's not really prop, but if you would rather pay, you know, the funding company to give you the opportunity to be backed, then so be it. I just would like to remind you that funding programs really are designed to keep you paying subscriptions, not to keep you trading live. So with the accelerator program, in my opinion, you'll have a better chance of staying, of having a path and staying organized in a way that causes you to have a better chance of success. But this is really a personal decision. We've done a couple of webinars on this, live streams on this. Those are dropped into your chat as well. You might want to check those out to get some, you know, as unbiased information as we can provide. John is asking, I had 2 questions on the AP. How much weight is given to learning market and volume profile? Market and volume profile offer really robust and effective ways to assess the auction, right? Everything that has price and enough participation is operating in an auction, and an auction is best described using market or volume profile. So we spend a lot of time on that. That's the approach. You know, my approach is understanding the auction, volume, market profile, understanding statistics, you know, have a quant background, understand the statistics for your product. There's a fair bit of price action that we look at, and then order flow to, once we've decided what our bias is going to be, that we are stalking long trades, then we wait for our setups that we share with you in the accelerator program in order to execute and manage those trades. That's basically it in a nutshell. It's a process that we follow, much like a pilot follows a checklist before taking off, right? So the second question, outside of the live sessions each week for the self-study, do we have access to yourself, John, to ask questions? It's just myself that is running the program currently. However, you have access to Discord where other people who've been through the program, have asked these questions, can support. It's really hard for me to keep up with everybody. But here's the thing. The whole point is to get you to stage 3 of competence. So if you have stage 3 of competence, you're asking questions, you've learned a lot. Most folks who came out of this program and gave us reviews have said, wow, that's a lot of information. What happens is when you get your questions answered, when other people ask those questions, you will be equipped to answer them, and you'll be happy to answer them because this is knowledge that you've earned. So there's Discord channel that covers that, but I do go in there and try to answer as best as I can. And then, of course, you have the monthly tune-ups to come on and tell us how you're doing and to ask questions there as well. Bodan is asking for the participants that enrolled in the Accelerator course and want to upgrade to the live week only. Is there a way to also be included in the weekly coaching sessions apart from the live week at no extra cost? My advice to you, Bodan, is to reach out to CT-James in Discord and have a discussion with him about that. How useful is it to a very beginner trader? Jonathan, it's very useful. If you're a very beginner, you have the privilege of not having picked up a lot of baggage that you have to unlearn. We go from the very foundation. So there are people who've joined who've been followers of mine for a long time and no market profile, no volume profile. And they go through the same process. We go through the foundation all the way through to discussing the 6 setups we go through and basically picking apart what we need to do in order to execute, right? Whether the trade makes money or not is up to the market. It's not up to us. But the process takes you from the very, very beginning. So it's very, very useful for a beginner. There's a commitment. There's a big commitment from you to keep up and stay along with the program and to just do the work. Suman, I'm enrolled in the upcoming AP cohort and I'm super excited to begin the program. I've been sim trading on Bookmap for a few months and wanted to know if having the CT Bookmap version will provide me with an edge, everything else being equal. I understand as CT member, I'll have the ability to get important market stats updated on Bookmap regularly. For charting, IRT and Sierra chart appear to have a bit of a learning curve for beginners. Would you recommend EPX or is EPX redundant with Bookmap membership? CT Bookmap is the same as the regular Bookmap with a few additional features. You do not need to have that. You don't need to have that. As far as IRT and Sierra, we do share some definition files and pre-configured templates to help you organize your screen in a way that makes it easier. We do that for Edge Pro X as well. I trade on Edge Pro X. I don't use Sierra chart. In my opinion on this, Sierra chart and IRT do have a big learning curve. My preference is to just stick with Edge Pro X. It's lower cost, right? The cost is lower. You have much better support on Edge Pro X, in my opinion. You can contact someone at Edge Clear directly to get help. And it's something that covers most of the bases. Now, if you're out there studying charts from 2 years ago or whatever, you do need a more robust package. Edge Pro X is really designed for active traders. It's not designed for, it provides analytics, but it's not designed for as deep analytics as IRT or Sierra chart does. But this is a matter of personal choice as well, okay? Will there be a replacement for the Accelerator program? If so, can you provide us any details? There's no replacement for the Accelerator program in its current form, where I am dedicating 5 weeks of just walking through this process with you. But because there's just a huge commitment, there's a huge commitment on my time and yours as you go through the program. But you're doing something really important here, right? So we're not going to do the program in its current form, where you're doing the 4 weeks of modules, then a week of live. But we will continue to make an effort to support the Accelerator course, which will continue to be available. I've been a member of CT for over a year, and I'm ready to make a commitment to one of the Accelerator programs, self or live. I'm wondering what a successful professional trader trader account looks like in 6 or 12 months? When do you find a profit zone that fits for your style and works without going overboard? In the United States middle class terms, what does a successful trading business look like? This is a tough question from Chris. There are so many factors that impact the answer to this. One, did you do all the work? Are you attacking your errors? Are you following a process? Have you defined your process? How much money are you trading? When are you trading? What are you trading? What is your time frame? What is your risk tolerance? These are all, it's not an automated system. It's not an automated system where I could say, yeah, past performance shows that in 6 months you should be pulling in 10 grand a month. I cannot say that. So it's just dependent on you heavily. In middle class terms, let's look at it this way. We're looking, yes, we're doing this to make money. So it's about dollars and cents. But at the end of the day, that's not what should get your focus. And so to me, if I started with a reasonably funded account, in my opinion, I would expect to be getting some portion of that account amount per month. And it's enough to sustain my trading business and some of my expenses. That's the goal. But as soon as we make profitability the key element that we're focused on, profitability becomes elusive because we will give up our process and will become emotionally tied with the dollars and cents, and that automatically takes us out of play. For example, if I were an Olympian and my goal is to achieve the world 100-yard dash, 100-meter record, I can't, in the middle of running the 100 meters, I cannot be thinking about the endorsements or how much it has cost me so far or how much more I have to pay my coach to get there. When I'm doing the 100-meter race, I have to focus on finishing faster than everybody else. And there's a process to that. The money cannot be a part of it. But at the end of the day, endorsements are how I get paid. I've dedicated my life to being the fastest person on the planet, or at least in the Olympics. And so I'm expecting to get paid. So when it comes down to negotiating endorsement deals and so on, speaking fees and so on, I'm going to be pretty aggressive, but it cannot be a part of my process. So the outcome of this, I know that's a long answer, but the outcome of this is very hard to pin down because it's very, very personal. That was the last question of the bunch. Let's take the questions that have been asked in Zoom right now. And James, let me know if there are any questions on YouTube. Has previous cohort member success been tracked before and after the AP, and what can be shared about that? We send a survey after the AP is done, and then we check in every month. And part of that check-in is to ask, how was it for them before? What would they rate their level of knowledge and experience and their preparedness as a trader before? How would they rate it after the program's done? And then every month we look for, okay, who's having trouble and who's seeing success. And in general, a modest goal is to say, yeah, I'm not killing it, but I'm not losing money like I was. And so I have an opportunity to hone in on my process and actually see some profitability. For the most part, and I don't have stats on this and we don't track statistics on this yet. For the most part, folks Folks are making progress, right? There are some folks whose circumstances made it so that they need to kind of put trading on the side and go pursue some career stuff or seasonalities. They're in a landscaping business or whatever, and they need to focus on that. But for the most part, we've seen success. I have not been in an accelerator program tune-up where the person was like, oh my God, things were worse. Things just gotten so much worse for me. I would love to run into someone like that. I don't love to run into someone, but I'd love to hear from someone who is in fact struggling, because that person will get my attention. Our goal is to equip you to be a better trader. I can't say that you're going to be, hitting it out of the park or anything like that, because like, the last question that was asked by Chris here, it's just dependent on many factors that we don't control, right? Since you mentioned GexBot, what is your view on options flow services giving an edge to trading futures? I see a few companies that offer levels based on gamma levels, but I'm unconvinced. Maybe I don't fully grasp it, but a lot of people, traders, saying that you need to know about options gamma levels to trade futures. Okay, John. So there's some truth to that, but it's like everything else. What is the context of what the market, do you think those GEX levels matter when the president comes out and says we're going to charge 50%, a 50% tax against Europe? It doesn't really matter. So GEX levels, there's enough options, zero DTE options activity that is impacting futures because the market makers need to hedge those positions, their gamma exposure. That's what GEX stands for. Their gamma exposure using futures, but are they going to supersede auction levels? Are they going to supersede an orderly market discovery process? I have not seen that. I watch both. And that we do see reactions at certain GEX levels that are translated into their futures pricing terms, but it's not like, oh my God, if I don't know what GEX is doing today in my product, then I'm screwed. That's not what I'm seeing. Is the archive CT videos available? It is to some extent. I don't remember how much of it is there, but it is to some extent.
So
Can
just
we
to
get
clarify on that, yeah, so that's available to Accelerator Program Cohort 6 members. That's not available outside of the cohort.
Okay. Can we get access to the recorded course earlier for the Accelerator program, like immediately? The Accelerator course, how does that drop? Is it dropped all at once or is it timed, James? I don't recall.
Yeah, so it's 2 per week, so we can't configure it so that you get access immediately. And really the goal is to do this with the group. Um, it's a much more powerful way of getting through the content and then doing the coaching sessions weekly, talking about it in the chat room. We want you to be part of a cohort, not do this individually for the program.
Right. Does the AP cover harmonic rotations in the educational material? It does. I've sent a question. I was wondering what will come after the AP. The Accelerator program in its current form is coming to an end with Cohort 6. From there, it's the Accelerator course with potential live week sessions here and there if there's enough interest. There's not much more to it than that. Again, doing this is extremely taxing on our resources, on my time, on James's time, on other team members' time. So it's not something that we can continuously do. This is the last cohort that's going to have it, unfortunately, but it's just too big a commitment to do this. I just want to step aside for a minute and just say, why are we doing this? And the reason we're doing this is I've never seen someone perform well alone in anything that requires performance. and especially trading. The biggest thing that when I came into trading from being an engineer, a construction manager, construction project manager, and came into trading, the biggest thing that prop did for me is to force me into an environment where I'm with other people and I'm not isolated, and therefore can just tell myself whatever I want in terms of how I'm performing, what I should be looking at, and so on and so forth. And that's where, I came into trading, into stocks, into an arcade with in an office in Boca Raton, in Vero Beach, actually, and then later Boca Raton with Schoenfeld Securities. And, there were many, many traders, and it's very hard to hide and underperform in that environment. So that's why we launched Convergent Trading. The name Convergent is to converge, to bring everything together. The Accelerator Program is the crown jewel of that effort. And the goal is to bring people together, just like I did, once I left that prop shop that someone else ran. I didn't like what they did. I ran my own. And the whole idea is to bring everybody together and to kind of push forward together and make everybody accountable, and inform people in the correct way. The goal for us has always been to create a more elite group of traders who are pursuing a career professional trading path, rather than people who jump from Discord channel to YouTube to Telegram channel to Skype when it existed, to a Teams group, to this, to that, to, hey, NQ's not, ES is not working, I'm jumping into an NQ group that's using, Drummond geometry or whatever. Like, that's just an incredible waste of time. It really, unless you're doing it for entertainment. And for the most part, what I see on YouTube, and I see a lot on YouTube just to see what everybody else is doing, because I'm a student of the market as well, what I see is mostly entertainment. A guy who's sitting there vaping in a cool room with cool LED lights, answering questions about how they like their spaghetti prepared or whatever while the market's trading. It's not really what we would do in a professional environment. I'm not disparaging that, because I feel like that's also in demand. People want to be entertained. They want to exist in a space that is not isolated, and that's how they get entertained. But what we're after is more of a professional, bringing everyone to the same level. At the end of this program, I should be able to say something and you should be able to get it right away. Understand exactly the theoretical basis of what I'm telling you, the words I'm using, or the acronym I'm using. You should be able to speak to others who finished the Accelerator Program at the same level. It's almost something that we should be giving a certificate for. And so, that's what I'm looking to build, a community full of that. And that will help me move forward as people discover and perform. It'll help me just like it did in my prop shop. I learned to be the best trader I could be by being forced to back traders and show them how to trade. And that same environment is what I'm looking to recreate, or what we aim to recreate through Convergent. This is why we do this, okay? And we attempt to do it at the lowest cost possible with the best opportunity possible for everybody. So at the end of the day, that's what we're after. And it doesn't sell like hotcakes. It's not sexy, but it's what's substantive. This is what real substance is made of, and this is what we're committed to. So the trader bite that you see is a commitment in that vein, recreating that prop discussion before the market opens, what we do at CT every day, with the webinars, with whatever we're doing. That's what we're looking to, that's what we're after. Okay, so we come from a prop trading background, a professional prop trading background, and we're recreating this, and it's more of a passion than it is an occupation, really. we're out of time. I'm going to jump into a meeting here. Hopefully we addressed all of your questions. Daniel's asking, hang on, is the method taught in the program translatable outside of futures? It is. It is. We teach the auction in its purity. Now, certain products have certain limitations, like Forex. If you go and try to trade this on Forex, you don't have a central exchange there, so you're subject to the spread and the participation of the people within that Forex dealers realm. Same with CFDs. These are not exchange traded products. But if it's a product that's traded centrally, like every futures product and many equity products, the same concepts apply. The same auction is taking place as long as the product is trading in an orderly way, has enough volume, and has enough participants to be a truly balanced or a truly legitimate product. It's the same. I look at equities the same way I look at futures, except on a much higher time frame. Okay, Daniel? Anything else, James? You were saying something?
Yeah, there are a couple more questions that have come in on the Q&A and also a couple of questions from YouTube as well.
Can we, why don't you fire one or two YouTube ones at me?
Okay, so YouTube, pop that in the webinar chat for you. H51NX says, you've said that you've been trading same strategy since 2006. Where can we find more information about the way you trade? Is this in the Accelerator program or is it tailor-made individually?
I started this quest in 2005, actually, and I've been trading basically the same way since then. That is what's covered in the Accelerator program. I wouldn't be covering something that I'm not using. So it is the same process. It is auction based. It's based, as I said, based on the auction, based on quantitative analysis, statistics based on price action, based on order flow. Combine those pieces together to create your own soup. But we're going to go through the ingredients in detail and explain how best to use them. But at the end of the day, you're going to eat your own soup. So you're going to put that together for your risk tolerance, for your personality, for your product. But it is the same. It's the same stuff I've been covering this whole time out in the public as well.
There's one from Bossman as well.
Okay, shoot.
I heard you say in the past that you went all in with your trading. You took your savings and went all in. If we did the Accelerator program and study it intensely and found our edge and process, at what point do you think we should go all in as a full-time, as a trader full-time if we complete the Accelerator program? And he goes on to say he's going to treat the Accelerator program like an apprenticeship.
I took a big risk and I would not recommend it. I basically had very little money left. I had very little money left, and I was losing as part of this prop shop. I was losing on a daily basis. I was doing stupid things. Nobody explained to me what the errors are, how to track them, how to fight them. So I was repeating the same thing pretty much every day. And then one day it occurred to me that actually I have about 2.5 months worth of expenses left. And I was either gonna do it now or I need to start to make the decision to go do something else. And that's what the all-in part is. I didn't take the money that I had left and bet it in the market. So it's not that all in. It was, if I have to quit, I have to quit on the terms that I did everything I was supposed to, and I did it right. I did my part, the system failed. And that's when I started to see through the BS, the lies, the emotional trading, all that stuff. It was within a month and a half or so of making that decision that I had my first €1,000 day on the Euro Stoxx 50, trading the Euro Stoxx 50, which is the European version of the S&P, a very cool product. So that was the first time I actually saw like $1,000 in futures. And then from there, you of course I threw that away over the next couple of days because I thought I had it cracked, and then it just became a much more consistent process. And then when I left that prop shop and went and traded on my own and started my own, I never looked back. And that's where my true success came. And how did it come? It came from the idea that other people were there depending on me, and trying to learn from me. And so I went from losing consistently to having $100, $200 day, up, down, oh, $400, oh, lost 300, da, 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 to just a more consistent equity curve, and a just much clearer vision. And it all came down to understanding the role of emotions, understanding the role of errors, and just committing to not making those errors. And you don't know what that is until you've studied it, right? So that was my journey, and being all in meant, hey, it's do or die time. I can't keep going, getting money and coming back. And that's basically what it took. It's 1 o'clock. I need to hop off. I'm sure there are more questions to ask. We'll do another AMA soon, I'm sure. We'll try to do these every month. If I didn't answer your question here, please tweet at me. You can find me on Twitter or x.com/FuturesTrader71. And if you're on YouTube, please add your question as a comment to the video, and our folks will flag that up to me, and I'll try to go in there and answer it for you to the best of my ability. I hope you gained something today. I hope we've helped you avoid the pitfalls that everybody follows, and hopefully you can participate with us. If not, it's okay. We hope to see you in some other capacity soon. Take care, everyone, and I'll catch you soon. Take care.